Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nick Chowdhury. I represent North Vancouver Island in the Health Council. You probably saw me sitting there writing. We weren't given notes. There was as little preparation as Doug saying, this is the order we should go in as we were getting ready to walk up on stage. But when I look back at this, there's a key point that resounds for me, is that we need change. I recall back prior to when we completed health transfer, I sent in an email at one point because I couldn't find answers locally, so I copied Doug and a few others in the office here, and I asked, what's going to happen to the Health Council? At the time, I didn't have the same understanding that I do now of the direction and the founding documents that set up this whole process that we're in. But what I did realize was that things were changing. And it's caused me many times to focus on this point because I look back and to share a bit of my own experience to things like this. When we listen to how eloquently and passionately Wayne described what's happened to our people for generations. We've had our system of our culture and our families fractured, broken. I don't think it's been beaten, or we wouldn't be here. But I remember a time when I was young, I want to say probably around 10 or 11 years old, out playing in the park with some of my cousins. And we got to talking about school or something like that. And one of my cousins reached over and he shoved me, and I staggered a little because I wasn't expecting him to shove me so hard. And he started chuckling and he said, what are you going to do with yourself? Are you going to go and be one of those drunken Indians staggering around in Vancouver somewhere? And I stopped and I thought, what does he mean? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, you don't go out fishing and you don't go out logging. So what are you going to do with yourself? And I thought, and I just recently remembered thinking these words, is that really all there is for us? Do we have nothing? And that I could ask that question of myself, I realize now. It reflected on how much our family structure had struggled over the past generations. How much our nations, how much our communities have struggled to reach today. It's easy now, and it's easier as time passes for us to understand these impacts and to be able to reflect on what they've done to us. But in understanding and reflecting, sometimes we forget we need to take that step to now to change where we are, change who we are, change what we are doing. And that cry for change not only came from us as a whole, but it came from our youth recently. The protests for change under the term idle no more. Some people were very passionate, speaking out across the country, let alone here in our province, for a change in what we're doing. And for the longest time, I've carried with me the question, if I'm going to get involved in something, if I'm going to do something, is it going to create change for our people? Is it my people, my own band members? Is it ours in our region? Is it ours provincially? That intent, that end, we need to get there. And we've seen change. We're experiencing it. Slower in some cases, quicker in others when we look at this health process. But to go back to my question, what was the Health Council going to do? Our documents and our mandate clearly laid out that there was work in social determinants of health as well as transferring health. And the two are very fitting together. My first day of training to work with my late uncle, had me go to a health governance meeting. And surprise, surprise, within days or weeks, I went to a meeting for our North Island Nonprofit Society. It's a non-delegated group that supports and enhances MCFD services. And I started drawing linkages and lines, understanding, yeah, there is some sense to this approach. We do need to tackle more than one thing. That was the first thing my uncle said when I said, why am I going to a health governance meeting? He said, we need to be able to understand and do the work that needs to be done. Some of us come from nations of many, some of us come from nations of hundreds. But together, we can do things like reach an previously uncounted unanimous yes for Gathering Wisdom 4. I catch myself as I say unanimous because I remember asking you at the time, Doug. I got up and spoke at the end of the forum after the vote, and I said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about those that weren't present, those that said no, those that abstained? And the response was that there was a record being kept and that everyone would be engaged with, everyone would be involved, no one would be left behind. As I've come to work through this process and join the Health Council, I've learned more and more to value those principles, the directives, and the supporting values that go along with them. We put good effort into building the mandate and the values and principles and directives. Utilizing the strengths that we have, we can tackle wellness in a much more efficient manner. I think in a much more successful manner, and really bring that change to our people that we need. With thank you, I'll pass it on to Bev.